Hey guys, let's talk about how to get cinematic footage out of any camera. If you love camera reviews, camera gear, how-to tutorials on video, videography, photography, things like that, and positive messages, make sure to like and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. So, in video, the thing that I have learned over the years, it's the little bitty details that make the difference, that can kind of set you apart. I did it, everybody did it. I got in the habit of turning my camera on, hitting the record button, and shooting something because I was excited. And then when I got back home and I started editing the footage, it just didn't look right. And I couldn't figure out why my footage didn't look the same as somebody else's, even if I had the same camera. Settings are more important than the camera that you shoot with. That's just plain simple facts. You have to get your settings right. And there's a triangle that's super important, and let's talk about that. So you have aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. Those three really go together, and that is one of the biggest differences that will set you apart from an amateur. You always want to shoot in manual, always, because that gives you control over those three things. Now, that's a preference, but if you want cinematic footage, you're gonna have to shoot in manual. So, I always shoot in manual. My frame rate that I'm always shooting in is 24 frames per second. For all you 30 frames per second folks out there, you're wrong, I'm sorry. 24 frames per second is the best frame rate to get cinematic look. It is what our eyes are used to seeing. The best way I can describe it, it's the closest thing to what the human eye sees, and we're used to seeing that, and that's what makes it look cinematic to us. I am not going to get real technical with this stuff. There's a million videos out there, but you want to shoot in 24 frames per second. Now, unless you're going to do slow-mo footage, then you want to shoot in 60, 120 frames per second if your camera has that, and then you're able to slow that down in post, and there's a million videos about that. But 24 frames per second is probably a good place to start. So, shutter speed. You want to do double your frame rate. So the best way to explain that is you take whatever frame rate you're shooting at, you set your shutter speed at double that frame rate. So if I'm shooting at 24 frames per second, my shutter speed needs to be 48 or 50, or as close as you can get with that. I think not all cameras can get exact, so you want to get as close as double the frame rate as you can get. So the next thing is ISO. ISO basically controls the amount of light that your camera lets into the camera body. So you want to get your ISO set right, your shutter speed set right, and your frame rate set right. Now I know I just kind of breezed over that, I didn't dive into that, but there's a million videos on YouTube, and if you guys want me to go further into that, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to make a video about those specific things. Next thing I want to talk to you about, and this to me is really, really important. In theory, what you want to do is you want to shoot as flat as you can. So you want to shoot in what they call log. Now, if your camera does not have log, the EOS R has C-Log, and that's what I'm shooting on right now. Basically, that gives you a flat image. Like I said, I'm not going to get real technical, but basically it lets you capture as much information as you can. When you get back to edit that video, you can have more control over the shadows, more control over the lighting, the color, things like that. So it also helps you with dynamic range, and we've talked about that in a whole variety of different things. That camera has C-Log or log. The RP does not. So you can either go to neutral and You can look this up on YouTube. There's a ton of videos about that. Or you can download something like I did called CineStyle. And CineStyle is not true C-Log, but it emulates that. Very easy to install. It was free, and this is what I use when I shoot this camera. Matter of fact, I always film in C-Log on my R, and then I always film in CineStyle on this one. And when I go into edit the footage, they always line up and match really well. So CineStyle is really, really good. It has its flaws, but it's really good. I always shoot in log. I like to color grade all my footage. It's just kind of what we do. So let's talk about white balance. White balance is an area that I overlooked, just like I overlooked everything else when I first got into this. So you always want to make sure, I'm telling you, that your camera settings are vital to getting really good footage that's going to set you apart. But always make sure that your white balance is set properly, and that is going to make it so much easier for you when you get home, when you start editing this footage. Canon makes it super easy. Really, really easy. They have presets that I can pick. If it's cloudy, I shoot in the cloudy white balance profile. If it's daylight, bright light, I shoot in that. They have them all listed there, and I'm not going to go into that, but it's really, really simple. And you don't have to be an expert at it at first. Kind of just dive into it, start learning it, and it's fairly easy once you get into it. But white balance is super important. So the next thing I want to talk to you about, and this probably to me is one of the most important things to getting good cinematic footage that will set you apart, and that's lighting. Lighting is one of those things that most people overlook when they first get into this. They always think about camera. What's the first thing you think about? I want the latest, greatest, best camera to be able to shoot good cinematic footage. If I don't have the best, then I can't do it. Don't make that mistake. Don't go out and buy the best camera when you first start out, because you're going to regret it later on. So you don't have to have the latest and greatest camera to shoot good cinematic footage, but you do have to have good lighting. The biggest thing I can tell you is go out and study lighting, learn how to light a subject, learn how to set up your lights, learn about a key light, learn about kicker lights, learn about as much as you can. And there's a million videos on YouTube that will teach you how to light properly. I'm still learning every day, been doing this for 5 years, and I learn something on every single shoot. The next thing I want to talk to you about is sound and sound design. That's an area that everybody overlooks. You notice the pattern here? Everybody always does the same thing. They make the same mistakes. So hopefully this will help you not to make the mistakes that I did. But sound design is huge. The way our brains are wired, you can watch a video that looks immaculate, and if the sound is bad, if the audio is bad, you cannot watch it. Your brain will turn it off. But on the other side of things, you can watch a video with great audio and the video will just be horrible. And the first thing that you think, or I do, is like, man, they filmed it like that on purpose. I don't know why that is. It's just the way our brains work. So learn audio, super important. Also learn to put sound effects in your videos. And I'm not talking about like the cheesy type sound effects or all that. I'm talking about like if you're pouring a cup of coffee, you know, go and record that sound or find a sound that emulates that and put that into your videos. It'll make a huge, huge, huge difference. I guess the last thing that I want to tell you, and this is probably the most important thing that we can talk about, just get out there and shoot. Like we always say, just make content. You're supposed to make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna mess up. You're gonna learn along the way, but the key to that is you're learning. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Get out there and try it. If there's something you want to do, give it a try. It has taken us a long time to get to this point, and I didn't learn all this stuff in a day. But I'm hoping that this video will help you out with that and really kind of point you in that direction and save you guys some time. So to wrap this up, let's talk about the keys to cinematic footage. Camera settings, right? Leave it on manual. Learn your camera settings, your ISO, your aperture, your white balance, how to do this. Whatever camera you have, learn it inside and out. I can work this thing with my eyes closed sometimes. I mean, I know the functions and the buttons on here. Know your gear, know your camera. It's critical to your success. Lighting, don't forget about lighting. Invest in good lighting. You will not regret it. Lighting is key in audio. So if you'll learn your camera, learn about lighting, learn about audio, you'll be on your way to shooting cool content. So hopefully that helped you guys out. Check us out, spread the word. If you have a question, I love to respond to you guys, love to talk to you guys in the comments. So send us a message. Just make content, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.